Welcome, Jeremy, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Unmerciful, this new album, Devouring Darkness, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, how are you doing today? How is the band during the last 5 years? Because your previous album was released during the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm doing good. We're all doing good. Yeah, unfortunately, the last album was released right after everything started with the pandemic and all of our promotion and any hopes of touring in support of it were pretty much shattered. Um, we didn't get to do anything until like a year and a half after that started with Narcotic Wasteland in November of 2021.
Hmm.
And then we did a tour with Decrepit Birth, Pathology, and Stabbing in the US in 2022. And then we did a couple of shows in South America in September of that year.
Okay, okay. And now, well, let's talk about a little more for the promotion for the previous one, Rot in Compass. So how the things change since the previous album was released during the pandemic. Now this new album is releasing outside of the pandemic. And how many things changed since you presented the last album to the promotion? Talking about this one.
Um, I think everything's just back to normal. We've seen more promotion for this album.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not really sure how all that worked, but yeah, everything just seems to be back to normal as far as promotion. And we actually opted for more promotion for this album
Mhm.
that we did ourselves and not just with the label. So kind of a double promotion, if you will.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. So now you said one thing that you did a tour here in Latin America. So how about it was your presentation in Colombia at that moment? I wasn't there at that moment because I just tried to travel, but something happened at that moment. So how about it was your experience to play for the first time here in Latin America, especially in one of the brutal dead countries that is Colombia?
Uh, it was an incredible show. The plan was for us to come down a day early and enjoy it and do a little tourism and hang out and whatnot. And um, with our luck, we had to stay in Newark, New Jersey for an extra 24 hours because the airline that we went with delayed our flight. We missed our flight. We could actually still see the plane on the fucking tarmac, but they would not let us get on the plane. So we were stuck there, and we finally got to Bogota like 3 hours before we were supposed to play. So we went from the airport pretty much straight to the venue, and then we played the show. It was an awesome show, and then we went back to the hotel for maybe an hour, and then we had to be back at the airport so that we could go to Ecuador.
Mhm.
So we played Ecuador. Well, we played Ibarra the next night, and that was a great show as well.
Great, great, great. So now talking about the composition process for this new album, when did you decide writing songs for this new Devouring Darkness? It was during the live sessions, perhaps some of the songs for this new album are composed during the previous album, or perhaps are all the songs new? So when do you start to write songs for this new album in general?
Um, if I remember right, I started writing new material probably a year after Wrath Encompassed was released. Um, and we actually played a new song in South America that was not on Wrath, which was The Reaping, which is on the new album. Um, but I wrote a couple of songs, and Clint wrote a song or two at that point, but we only felt that one of them was ready enough to play live.
Hmm.
So, and we're all slow writers. Clint's a complex writer. Like his songs have 17 different tales and um, hard to remember everything. And I'm a slow writer as well, just not as fast as I want to be.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Okay. Well, I understand for this now. So now talking a little more about the promotion for this new album. So what kind of plans do you have for this new album? So perhaps you'll embark tours, release videos, more videos, or perhaps you're already working a new album from Unmerciful. So what kind of plans do you have in general for the band and for this new album?
Um, we are talking with someone about doing a video for one of the songs.
Mhm.
Um, there are some plans that I can't announce what yet, but US tour in North America and possibly something in Europe and South America next year. Um, but obviously nothing set in stone yet. Um, as far as confirmed plans, we have a CD release show in June in pretty much our hometown of Kansas City with some local bands there. Sick lineup, and we're going to be playing a little over half of the songs off the new album in our set list.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, now talking about more about the conception of the cover art with the name of the album and obviously with the concept involved. Sometimes there's a concept behind the lyrics and it is this new album, The Boring Darkness, has a little concept behind, it's a special concept, or perhaps how do you relate the cover art with the name of the album and especially with the brutal music that you play?
Well, with the new album, Devouring Darkness, it was a song that Clint wrote. We don't really have a preconceived concept album, if you will. It's just straight up violence. Anything to do with violence, hatred, um, torture, anything. So for the fourth album, it was Devouring Darkness. D is the fourth letter in the alphabet. There's four current permanent members in the band. There are four demons depicted on the album cover. Um, just kind of went with that a little bit, but not really a concept, if you will.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. One thing that always captured my attention about the Unmerciful since the previous albums, that is like the into the cover art or in the music involved, sometimes like be a, like the something like satanic, some a demon into the cover art sometimes. And all the cover arts has a demon. So for this one, there is special lean or there is a special situation or there is a special concept in all lyrics since the beginning to now that are related with the satanism or the occultism.
Um, Maybe a little bit. It's more of just anything evil, dark, violent. I wouldn't say we're Satanists by any means.
Mhm.
And some of the songs are actually anti-religion. Um, but yeah, we mostly just write about violent things. It's not any actual religious uh belief, if you will, that we are writing about. It's just violence, darkness, evil, corruption, everything along those lines.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Now talking about more about the well, let's talk about the let's talk about how do you relate. Well, usually your the both albums has two names on it. Since the first album, Unmerciful Beating, it's Ravenous Impulse, Wrath Encompassed, and Devouring Darkness has two words on the name or the on the album name. But if we relate more at things related with one word and we express some kind of feeling, for example, for me, the first album is a beast. Last, just an example. So if we relate this concept, what kind of word is for you fits perfectly for each album that Unmerciful has in your career?
Um, that's a great question. I've never thought about that. Um, yeah, I'd imagine the first album would be Beast. Second would be Frantic, if you would. Third would be Dark, and the newest one would be Violent. I don't know. I'm sure I could come up with better, but that's what I think right now.
Okay, I understand. And now, well, when I hear all the times Unmerciful, the first album and the second one has a bring me because you played in Origin since the beginning, then you left the band, and then now you decide to start a new band with Unmerciful. So since the beginning, at the beginning, you try to do like you did in Origin, but then since your third album, you decide to lean down to more brutal stuff, not like technical stuff. But with this concept, as you can see, there's a lot of things that the new musicians try to play and get faster, try to play like a lot of technique into the music. And one thing that comes all the time my attention with your kind of music is that a lot of people say that you not play something brutal. You play like technical death metal, you play like brutal technical death metal, and I don't know why. Because since the beginning, since the conception with the first bands, Cryptopsy, Suffocation, Broken Hope, all the time that the death metal it was so technical. I don't know why the people just still trying to label the new bands like the technical brutal death metal, progressive death metal. I don't know. So in this case, what kind of opinion do you have about this new trying to label a band when you said when the band when a brutal death metal band since the beginning is so technical? There's no need to put technical brutal death metal because since the beginning the brutal death metal all the time was so technical.
Um, I'm not really one to put genres on things like that because, like with our music, it's violent, it's extreme, it's brutal, it's there's a lot of technicality in it, even if it doesn't sound like it. Um, and there are plenty of other bands like that. Like we are hugely influenced by Suffocation and Cryptopsy and um, even Obituary and Cannibal Corpse and all of the classic death metal bands. Uh, we write what we write, and I still write the same way I did when I was in Origin. Um, so does Clint. We've just evolved and expanded on what we wrote during that time because Clint was in Origin as well, actually twice, as was I. He was the original Origin bass player. He's on the demo, and then he was on guitar along with James King on Echoes of Decimation. Um, and actually, Unmerciful was started by Clint and James, and I joined in 2005. Was the first time I was in Unmerciful. Um, but as far as how we write, we just write how we write. We don't have a genre that we're going for. We don't have a set determination. We just write the most violent riffs that we can come up with, composition wise, everything.
Mm. Okay, okay. I understand for this. And one thing, well, as you can see, there's with a well, you try to play like the we try to play like the well, as you can see, there's a lot new musician that plays so fast, so technical, so perfect. When I hear this new album completely, I didn't notice that you try to bring this sound or like the organic sound in Devouring Darkness. It's not sounds clean, it's not sounds so perfect. Sounds great, sounds amazing, sounds brutal as usually because I have the three previous albums from the Merciful and I did my pre-order for this last one because I really liked your band. So in this case, what's your opinion about these new kind of musicians that are playing so fast, so technical, without any kind of errors? The sounds of this new extreme music is so perfect.
Uh, um, Pro Tools are a lot of bands' best friend.
Mm.
Um, I've not really huge on making it completely perfect because live you are not going to be completely perfect. We get as close as we can to sound that way. But like with the new album, we did everything at Clint's home recording studio. He has his home studio. He has great gear for a home studio. Um, we concentrated on everything sounding as vicious as it can. And of course, we're going to be doing the same to make it sound better on the next album. But I feel like this album is a great sounding album. We had Alan Douches master the album, who has mastered for Cannibal Corpse and Hate Eternal and countless other bands, and we think he did a phenomenal job. Um, but yeah, we just wanted everything to sound as
Mhm.
aggressive and intense as we possibly could. And as far as sounding perfect, I just want it to sound good. I don't need complete perfection. I don't want to slap everything on a grid and make it quantized or anything like that because that just takes the soul out of it. It takes
Mhm.
I think it takes any feeling out of it. Like you listen to bands like even Origin nowadays, and they're still doing the same thing. They are not completely quantizing,
Mhm.
um, but everything sounds great.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, as you can see now, there is a thousand of no, there is no thousand. There is like 50 or 30 releases per weekend. So you can see that it's impossible to follow more of these records. I understand mostly of the people that has a band in around the world or that is on for more for or 40 years or trying to release more music or old bands. No, listen the new bands. And also, so what's your point of view about these kind of topics that we have more than 30, 40, 50 releases per weekend? And there's impossible to follow this one. It's not like the 80s or 90s when you find 30 records in just 3 months or 4 months or 6 months. Now we have 30 records in 1 week, in one weekend. It's good, is it bad for the, is in general for the extreme music?
Um, I think the internet's both good and bad. Like back in the day, we had tape trading, we had word of mouth. Hey, go check out this band live. Now everything is online. You can post it online. You can write it and send it directly to your Facebook page or any social media and release it. Um, I think the scene is kind of oversaturated with bands. Um, but it's also kind of a good thing because it pushes you to make better music. So that way you're not stuck in the middle of the crowd or get looked over. But there are great bands that I have heard that do not get the recognition I feel like they deserve.
Hmm. Okay, okay. And one question about these related things with the new bands. As you can see, well, mostly all musicians over for 40 years or 45 years, or they 40 years, they don't listen new bands. And for you, when you hear a new band, for you, what it is the most interesting thing that when you find a band that you like with this new era, with the new band, new production, for you, what is the most important thing that the band has to do or has to need in the record or in the song for you?
Um, I like bands that build their songs. Production is also important. There are albums that I love, but I would like even better if they had good production or better production than what they had. Um, but yeah, just memorable riffs and building the songs and having great music to produce. I don't know. That's pretty much it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Now, so we are close to end this interview, Jeremy. And for this one, let's talk about a little more about your previous project that it was Origin at that moment. Now you can see the Origin is one of the biggest bands into the death metal, especially the brutal death metal stuff or technical death metal. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff happened with that, with the names or the labels. So why do you decide to retire Origin at the beginning and then so what are the reasons? And when you create Unmerciful, I saw that you created in 2021. So, but now, how you see this? That period of time in your life when you retired the band, then create Unmerciful, and now you have 4 albums with Unmerciful.
Um, yeah, that was a great time. Paul and I started Origin in '97 and played our first show opening up for Suffocation on their Despise the Sun tour in '98. Um, it was a different time back then. We got signed to Relapse Records and they worked with us pretty closely. They promoted the hell out of Origin. We got on plenty of tours during that time, during the first two albums, whether it be Contamination Tour with Exhumed and Cephalic Carnage, or we got to do Death Across America in 2000 with Deeds of Flesh and Cephalic Carnage again, and then Vader and Dying Fetus. Um, and then also we toured with Cryptopsy, Candiria, and Poison the Well in 2001, and then Nile, Arch Enemy, and Hate Eternal in 2002. Uh, it just seemed like it was a different time back then. I mean, it obviously was. The internet was not as prominent as it is now. Uh, there was still word of mouth. The tour packages were a little more diverse,
Mhm.
I feel. I've seen a lot of packages that the bands are extremely similar,
Mhm.
which I know people like, but you can gain new fans if your tour package is a little more diverse. Uh, and then as far as with Unmerciful, our first album, we got to tour with Cannibal, Dying Fetus, and Necrophagist in 2006, which was probably one of the most incredible lineups I've been a part of.
Mhm.
Um, and then we just self-booked some tours for Ravenous Impulse. We were kind of in limbo because that was our last album with Unique Leader.
Mhm.
And then we signed with Willowtip to release Wrath and now Divine Darkness. And we are working with a booking company now, that we had not previously done with Unmerciful. Uh, Continental Touring with Stefan. But yeah, we we're still chugging along, still trying to ride with the times, I guess, if you will.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, Jeremy, we are right to the sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoy this one like me. Well, this new album is a great one. I did my pre-orders as I said before. It's a great one. I have just the four albums. I had the lost opportunity to saw you in Colombia at that moment because I was too busy at that moment for the work. But when you return here, I will definitely will go to the one of the shows because you are an amazing band since the beginning. So, is there anything else? May I assist you? Also, can you do you have any kind of comments or do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metalerium followers?
Well, thank you for having me on this interview. I appreciate it. We definitely want to make it back down to South America and Bogota. Uh, Thank you to all the fans. We are obviously nothing without you. Uh, Hope to see you all soon. Enjoy the new album. It
Right.
is extremely violent. It's extremely intense. We are happy with how it turned out, and we hope you enjoy.